The cold Chicago wind bit at Marcus Reed's face as he trudged down Ashland Avenue, his gym bag slung over one shoulder. It was late 9:47 p.m. and the streetlights cast long shadows across the cracked sidewalk. At 17, Marcus was a senior at Westview High, a lanky kid with dreams of playing college basketball and studying engineering. His coach had kept the team late for drills, and now Marcus just wanted to get home, eat his mom's leftover meatloaf, and crash. He didn't know his life was about to unravel. The neon sign of Quick Mart flickered ahead, a 24-hour convenience store where Marcus sometimes grabbed a soda. As he approached, a muffled shout stopped him cold. Through the glass door, he saw the figures, one behind the counter, hands up, and another waving something shiny. A gun. Marcus's heart slammed against his ribs. He froze, his breath shallow, instinct screaming to run. Before he could move, a loud crack, a gunshot shattered the night. Glass sprayed across the pavement, and Marcus bolted, his sneakers pounding the asphalt. He didn't look back. 3 blocks away, he slowed, gasping, his mind racing. Was the clerk okay? Should I call someone? But fear kept him moving. He was a black kid in a neighborhood where cops didn't ask questions first. Calling 911 felt like inviting trouble. By the time he reached his apartment building, his hands were shaking so bad he could barely unlock the door. Inside, his mom, Tanya, was on the couch, scrolling through her phone. "You're late," she said, glancing up. Her voice softened when she saw his face. "Marcus, what's wrong?" He opened his mouth, but the words tangled. I saw something. At Quick Mart. A robbery, I think. I ran." Tanya's eyes widened. "You didn't get hurt, did you? Did anyone see you?" "I don't know," Marcus said, dropping his bag. I didn't do anything, Mom." She pulled him into a hug. "Okay, baby. You're safe now. We'll figure it out." But they didn't get the chance. At 6:03 a.m., a fist pounded on their door. Tanya opened it to find 3 police officers, badges glinting under the hallway light. Marcus Reed, the lead officer, a stocky man with a buzz cut, barked, "You're under arrest for armed robbery and assault." Marcus, still in his pajamas, stumbled back. "What? I didn't do anything." Tanya stepped forward, her voice sharp. "You got the wrong kid. He was home last night." "Mum, step aside," the officer said, cuffing Marcus's wrists. The metal bit into his skin. "We have him on camera at the scene." "That's impossible," Marcus shouted, but the officers were already dragging him out. Neighbors peeked from their doors, whispering. Tanya followed, yelling, "He's 17. He's a good kid." The next hours were a blur. At the station, Marcus sat in a cold interrogation room, his hands cuffed to a table. A detective slid a grainy photo across a blurry figure in a hoodie near Quick Mart. "That's you, isn't it?" the detective asked. "No," Marcus said. "I was just passing by. I ran when I heard the shot." The detective leaned back, unimpressed. "Witness says they saw a black male, about your height, fleeing the scene. You got an alibi?" "My mom," Marcus said, desperation creeping in. "I was home by 10. We'll check," the detective said, but his tone said he wouldn't. "You're being charged. Juvenile detention until your hearing." Marcus's stomach dropped. "Detention? I didn't do anything." But no one listened. By noon, he was in a van, headed to the Cook County Juvenile Detention Center. The building loomed like a fortress, all gray concrete and barbed wire. Inside, the air smelled of bleach and sweat. Guards strip-searched him, handed him an orange jumpsuit, and shoved him into a cell with a thin mattress and a steel toilet. The door clanged shut, and Marcus sank to the floor, his head in his hands. "This can't be real." Back home, Tanya was frantic. She called everyone she knew, friends, family, even Marcus's coach, but no one could afford a lawyer. The public defender's office assigned Sarah Coleman, a 32-year-old attorney with tired eyes and a stack of cases. Sarah met Tanya at a coffee shop, listening as Tanya poured out the story. "My boy's not a criminal," Tanya said, tears spilling. "He's got a 3.8 GPA. He's got dreams." Sarah nodded, scribbling notes. "I believe you. The evidence sounds thin: security footage and a vague witness. That's not enough. I'll visit Marcus tomorrow and start digging." At the detention center, Marcus lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The kid in the next cell was muttering, and somewhere, someone was shouting. He thought of his mom, his little sister, his college application sitting on his desk. "I'm not a criminal," he told himself. But the walls seemed to whisper back, "Prove it." Sarah arrived the next morning, her briefcase stuffed with files. Marcus sat across from her in the visiting room, his jumpsuit too big for his frame. "I'm innocent," he said before she could speak. "I swear." "I know," Sarah said, her voice steady. "I've seen the police report. It's sloppy rushed. They're leaning on that footage, but it's not clear enough to ID anyone. I'm requesting more evidence, like other cameras in the area. If you were just passing by, there's a chance we can prove it." Marcus nodded, but doubt gnawed at him. "What if they don't believe me? What if I'm stuck here?" Sarah leaned forward. "I'm not gonna let that happen. But you need to stay strong, okay? Tell me everything you remember about that night." So Marcus did every detail, from the neon sign to the gunshot. Sarah listened, jotting notes, her mind already turning. She'd seen cases like this before, kids caught in a system that assumed guilt based on skin color and circumstance. But something about Marcus's quiet determination, his fear stuck with her. This wasn't just another case. This was a fight. As Sarah left, Marcus watched her go. A flicker of hope battling the dread in his chest. He didn't know if he could trust her, or the system, or anyone. But he knew one thing. He wasn't giving up. Not now, not ever. The fluorescent lights in the Cook County Juvenile Detention Center buzzed like angry wasps, never dimming, never letting Marcus Reed forget where he was. It was his third day inside, and the reality of his situation was sinking in like damp rot. The cell was a concrete box 8 feet by 10, with a bunk bolted to the wall, a stainless steel toilet that reeked of bleach, and a scratched plastic mirror that distorted his reflection. At 17, Marcus had never felt so small, so powerless. His orange jumpsuit hung loose on his lanky frame, and the cheap sandals they'd given him slapped against the floor as he paced. "I don't belong here," he thought, but the locked door disagreed. Breakfast was at 6 a.m. A tray of gray oatmeal and a bruised apple slid through a slot. Marcus forced it down, his stomach churning. The other kids, some as young as 13, others hardened by years in the system, ate in silence at metal tables in the common area. Eyes darted, sizing him up. Marcus kept his head down, remembering his dad's old advice: don't show fear, but don't start trouble. His dad had been gone 5 years, killed in a car accident, but those words stuck. "New kid," a voice growled. Marcus looked up to see a stocky teen with a shaved head and a scar across his cheek. "What you in for?" Marcus hesitated. "Robbery." "But I didn't do it." The kid snorted. "Yeah, nobody did. Keep that story straight, or you'll get eaten alive." He walked off, leaving Marcus gripping his tray. The guards, perched on a raised platform, didn't blink. Their radios crackled, but they rarely spoke unless barking orders. Marcus felt their eyes on him, like he was already guilty. Back in his cell, he met his cellmate, Jamal Carter, a 19-year-old serving 6 months for a parole violation. Jamal was weary, with a faded tattoo of a cross on his forearm and a habit of tapping his foot. "You Marcus, right?" he asked, leaning against the bunk. "Heard you got a lawyer already." "Fancy, she's a public defender," Marcus said, sitting on the lower bunk. "I don't even know if she's good." Jamal shrugged. "Better than nothing. Most kids here get stuck with whoever's free. Listen, Rule 1, don't trust nobody. Not the guards, not the other kids. Rule 2, keep your head down, but don't look weak. You got family out there, my mom. My little sister, Kayla." Marcus's voice caught. Kayla was 10, probably crying herself to sleep. He hadn't seen her since the arrest. "They'll hold you up," Jamal said. "Write 'em letters. Keeps you sane." He tossed Marcus a stubby pencil and a few sheets of paper. "And stay out of fights. You're tall, so they'll test you." Marcus nodded, grateful but wary. Jamal seemed okay, but trust was a risk he couldn't afford. That afternoon, during rec time in the fenced yard, he felt the weight of stairs. A basketball game was underway, the ball thumping against cracked asphalt. Marcus itched to join. Basketball was his escape, his dream, but he stayed by the fence, watching. A kid bumped him hard. "What, you too good to play?" the kid taunted. Marcus clenched his fists but walked away. Not worth it. Outside, Tanya Reed was fighting her own war. She hadn't slept since Marcus's arrest, her eyes red from crying and scrolling through legal advice forums. Her job at the hospital kept her afloat, but lawyer fees were a pipe dream. She'd called Sarah Coleman twice, leaving voicemails that sounded more desperate each time. Sarah finally called back, her voice calm but urgent. "I'm reviewing the police report, Tanya. It's flimsy vague witness descriptions, no weapon recovered. The security footage is grainy, barely shows his face. I'm pushing for more evidence." Like other cameras on Ashland, Tanya clutched the phone. "Can you get him out? He's just a kid." "I'm trying." Sarah said, "His hearing's in 2 weeks. I'll visit him tomorrow and file a motion to access more footage. Hang in there." Tanya wasn't one to sit idle. That evening, she stood in her church basement, addressing a dozen neighbors and Marcus's teammates. "My son's innocent," she said, her voice steady despite the ache in her chest. "The police didn't investigate. They saw a black kid and decided he was guilty. We need to make noise, tell the world Marcus Reed isn't a criminal." The group agreed to spread the word, and Marcus's coach, Mr. Dawson, suggested a social media campaign. #FreeMarcusard. By nightfall, the hashtag had a few dozen posts, mostly from friends and family. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Sarah, meanwhile, was buried in work. Her office was a closet-sized room in the public defender's building, papers stacked like crumbling towers. Marcus's file was open, the police report marked with red ink. The witness, a delivery driver, claimed he saw a tall black male in a hoodie running from Quickmart. No mention of facial features, no clear timeline. The security footage showed a figure, maybe Marcus. Maybe not near the store at 9:45 p.m., but Sarah's gut told her there was more. She called a contact at the city's traffic division, requesting footage from cameras on Ashland Avenue. "It's a long shot," she muttered. But long shots were all she had. The media wasn't helping. A local news segment aired that night, titled "Teen Arrested in Violent Robbery." The anchor described Marcus as a suspect with a history of school suspensions, digging up to minor incidents from his freshman year, talking back to a teacher, skipping class. The comments online were brutal. "Typical thug. Lock him up." Tanya watched the segment, her hands shaking. She wanted to scream at the screen, "That's my son." Instead, she posted on X, "My son Marcus is innocent. He was walking home when police framed him." #FreeMarcusard. The post got 47 likes, a flicker of hope in the darkness. Inside detention, Marcus was learning to survive. Jamal taught him the unwritten rules: don't cut in line, don't stare too long, don't snitch. At night, the center was a cacophony of shouts, sobs, and slamming doors. Marcus wrote his first letter to Kayla, his pencil scratching in the dim light. "Hey, Kay, I'm okay. Don't worry about me. Keep practicing your jump shot. All right, love you." He didn't mention the fear gnawing at him, the nightmares of courtrooms and life sentences. He sealed the letter, hoping it would reach her. Sarah's visit the next day was a lifeline. She sat across from Marcus in the visiting room, her notepad open. "I found something," she said. "There's a traffic camera 2 blocks from Quickmart. If it caught you walking before the robbery, it could prove you weren't involved. I've requested the footage, but it'll take time." Marcus's heart leaped, then sank. "What if it doesn't show me? What if they twist it? Then we keep fighting," Sarah said. "I'm also looking into the witness. His story doesn't add up. You said you heard the gunshot and ran, right? That means you were gone before the robber fled. We can use that." Marcus nodded, but the weight of the jumpsuit, the cell, the stairs, it was crushing him. "I just want to go home," he whispered. "I know," Sarah said, her eyes softening. "I'm doing everything I can. Stay out of trouble in here, okay? You're stronger than this place." As she left, Marcus clung to her words. Stronger than this place. But that night, trouble found him. During dinner, a kid named Rico Big, with a shaved head and a mean streak, spilled juice on Marcus's tray. "Oops," Rico said, smirking. The other kids watched, waiting. Marcus's pulse raced. He could feel Jamal's eyes on him, warning him to stay calm. "It's cool," Marcus said, grabbing a napkin. Rico laughed and walked off, but the tension lingered. Marcus knew it wasn't over. Outside, the hashtag #FreeMarcusReed hashtag was gaining traction, with 200 posts by morning. Tanya printed flyers with Marcus's senior photo smiling in his basketball jersey and stapled them to telephone poles. A local activist group shared the campaign, and a reporter, Elena Ortiz, messaged Tanya for an interview. Maybe, Tanya thought, someone will listen. But inside, Marcus was alone, staring at the ceiling as the lights buzzed. He thought of his mom's meatloaf, Kayla's laugh, the feel of a basketball in his hands. He thought of the gunshot, the cops, the cuffs. "I'm innocent," he told himself. But innocence felt fragile, like a promise the world might not keep. The courtroom smelled of polished wood and stale coffee, a sterile contrast to the chaos in Marcus Reed's head. He sat at the defendant's table, his orange jumpsuit swapped for a borrowed suit that pinched at the shoulders. The tie felt like a noose. At 17, he'd never been in a courtroom, never imagined he'd be the one in cuffs, staring at a judge who held his future in her hands. The gallery was packed, his mom, Tanya, in the front row, her eyes red but fierce. His little sister, Kayla, clutching her hand, and a dozen supporters from church and school, their hashtag #FreeMarcusReed buttons glinting under fluorescent lights. Across the aisle, the prosecutor, a sharp-faced man named Gregory Holt, shuffled papers, his confidence like a blade. Sarah Coleman, Marcus's public defender, leaned close. "Stay calm," she whispered. "This is just the preliminary hearing. We're here to challenge the evidence and push for bail." Her voice was steady, but Marcus caught the strain in her eyes. She'd warned him the system didn't favor kids like him, black, poor, caught in a high-profile case. The Quick Mart robbery had made headlines, and the public wanted someone to blame. The judge, a woman with gray hair and a no-nonsense frown, banged her gavel. "State v. Marcus Reed. Let's begin." Holt stood, his voice smooth as he laid out the case. On the night of February 17th, the defendant, Marcus Reed, entered Quick Mart at 9:45 p.m., brandished a firearm, and demanded cash. When the clerk resisted, the defendant fired, shattering a window and fleeing. We have security footage placing him at the scene and a witness who saw a suspect matching his description running away. Marcus's stomach twisted. Lies. He wanted to shout, but Sarah's hand on his arm kept him quiet. She'd coached him, "Don't react. Let me handle it." Holt played the footage on a courtroom screen, a grainy clip of a hooded figure near the store. The timestamp read 9:45 p.m., and the figure's height and build vaguely matched Marcus's. But the face? Impossible to tell. Holt paused the video, pointing. "This is the defendant, moments before the crime." Sarah rose, her notepad clutched tight. "Objection, Your Honor, the footage is inconclusive. The figure's face is obscured, and there's no clear evidence linking my client to the crime. Mr. Reed was walking home from basketball practice and past the store before the robbery occurred." The judge raised an eyebrow. "You have evidence to support that, Ms. Coleman?" Sarah hesitated, and Marcus's heart sank. She'd requested traffic camera footage from Ashland Avenue, but it hadn't arrived. "We're still gathering evidence, Your Honor," she said. "But the prosecution's case relies on a vague witness and blurry video. That's not enough for probable cause." Holt smirked. "We also have the defendant's history, suspensions for disruptive behavior at Westview High. This isn't a model student." Marcus's jaw clenched. Those suspensions, once for arguing with a teacher, once for skipping class, were years old. Kid stuff. Tanya shifted in her seat, her hands balled into fists. Kayla whispered, "That's not fair," loud enough for a bailiff to glare. The judge scribbled notes. "Ms. Coleman, do you have anything else?" Sarah took a breath. "Your Honor, I move to introduce potential exculpatory evidence, a second security camera from a nearby gas station that may show my client leaving the area before the robbery. We've requested access but need more time." Holt jumped in. "Your Honor, this is speculative. The defense is stalling. We have a violent crime, a clear suspect, and a community demanding justice." The judge's eyes narrowed. "Ms. Coleman, I'm denying your motion for now. Without the footage in hand, it's irrelevant. I find sufficient probable cause to proceed. Bail is set at $100,000. A gasp rippled through the gallery. Tanya buried her face in her hands. $100,000 might as well have been $1 million. Marcus turned to Sarah, his voice low. "What does this mean?" "It means we're not done," Sarah said, but her tight smile didn't reach her eyes. "We'll get that footage and fight at trial." As the bailiff led Marcus out, he caught his mom's gaze. "I love you," she mouthed, tears streaming. Kayla waved, her bracelet a gift from Marcus glinting. He forced a nod, but inside, he was crumbling. "They don't believe me." "Nobody does." Outside the courthouse, chaos erupted. Tanya's supporters chanted, "Free Marcus Reed," while a smaller group strangers with angry faces shouted, "Justice for Quickmart." A news van captured it all, the reporter's voice cutting through. Tensions rise as the teen suspect in a violent robbery faces charges. Tanya pushed through the crowd, holding up a flyer with Marcus's photo. "My son is innocent," she yelled. A woman spit at her feet, muttering, "Criminal." Tanya froze, then kept moving, her resolve hardening. The hashtag Free Marcus Reed campaign was exploding online, with 1,200 posts by noon. Tanya's church had raised $2,000 for legal fees, but it was a drop in the bucket. A local journalist, Elena Ortiz, approached Tanya after the hearing. "I work for the Chicago Defender," Elena said, her notebook open. "I've been following your son's case. Something's off. Can I talk to you?" Tanya nodded, hope flickering. "Please, tell the world my boy's no robber." Elena's first article went live that night, "Teen Wrongly Accused." The case against Marcus Reed raises questions. It detailed the shaky evidence and quoted Tanya's plea. "They saw a black kid and stopped looking." The article got 3,000 shares, and hashtag Free Marcus Reed trended locally. But the backlash was fierce. Online trolls called Marcus a thug, and one comment read, "He's guilty. Look at his record." Tanya read it all, her heart breaking, but she kept posting, kept fighting. Back in detention, Marcus was sinking. The hearing replayed in his mind. Holt's smirk, the judge's cold voice, the word guilty hovering like a ghost. He sat in his cell, writing a letter to Kayla. "I'm trying to be strong, Kay, like you. Don't let Mom cry too much, okay? I'll be home soon." He didn't believe the last part, but he wrote it anyway. Jamal, his cellmate, watched from the top bunk. "Court didn't go good, huh?" he said. Marcus shook his head. "They don't care I'm innocent. They just see me." Jamal tapped his foot. "System's built that way. But you got people out there, right? Your mom, that lawyer. Don't give up." Marcus wanted to believe him, but the detention center was a grinder, stripping away hope. Rico, the kid who'd spilled juice, was circling again. During rec time, he shoulder-checked Marcus hard. "Heard you're a big-time robber," Rico taunted, his crew snickering. Marcus's fists tightened, but Jamal's warning echoed. "Don't fight." He walked away, heart pounding, knowing Rico wasn't done. Sarah wasn't done either. In her cramped office, she pored over the case file, her coffee cold. The traffic camera footage was delayed bureaucratic red tape, but she'd found a lead. The witness, the delivery driver, had a history of DUIs and a pending case. He might have been pressured to ID Marcus, she told her. Paralegal. She drafted a motion to question him again, her pen moving fast. Then her phone buzzed. A text from Elena Ortiz. "Found a store clerk. Who says the robber was shorter than Marcus. Wanna talk?" Sarah's pulse quickened. A witness could change everything. That night, Tanya organized a protest outside the courthouse. 50 people showed up, holding signs, "Justice for Marcus," "Stop racial profiling." Kayla handed out flyers, her small voice fierce, "My brother's innocent." A news crew filmed it, and Elena Liv tweeted, her posts racking up views. But as the crowd grew, so did the counter-protesters, their shouts drowning out the chants. A man yelled. He shot at a clerk. Tanya faced him, unflinching. "That's a lie, and you know it." In his cell, Marcus lay awake, the buzz of the lights like a drill in his skull. He thought of his college applications, still on his desk, and his dream of studying engineering. He thought of the judge's gavel, the cuffs, the word suspect. He clutched Kayla's letter, her crayon drawing of a basketball taped inside. "I'm not a criminal," he told himself. But the system didn't care. It was a machine, and he was caught in its gears. Still, a spark burned in him, a stubborn refusal to break. Sarah's words echoed, "We're not done." Neither was he. The air in the Cook County Juvenile Detention Center was thick with tension, like a storm waiting to break. Marcus Reed sat on his bunk, his knees pulled to his chest, the scratchy orange jumpsuit a constant reminder of his reality. 2 weeks had passed since the disastrous preliminary hearing, and the walls of his cell seemed to close in a little more each day. At 17, he was learning the rhythm of detention, the clank of doors, the shouts of guards, the low hum of despair. But he clung to a flicker of hope, fueled by Sarah Coleman's promise, "We're not done." He didn't know that outside, the fight for his freedom was about to take a sharp turn. In her cramped office, Sarah pored over a grainy still from the gas station's security camera, her heart racing. After weeks of bureaucratic delays, the footage had finally arrived, and it was gold. The timestamp showed 9:43 p.m. on February 17th, 2 minutes before the Quick-Mart robbery. In the frame, Marcus was clear as day, walking past the gas station, his gym bag slung over his shoulder, head down against the wind. He was a block away, heading home, before the crime went down. Sarah slammed her fist on the desk, a rare grin breaking through. "Got you," she whispered, but the victory was fragile. Sarah knew the prosecution would fight tooth and nail to discredit the footage. She called Elena Ortiz, the Chicago Defender journalist who'd become an ally. "I've got the gas station tape," Sarah said, her voice low. "It shows Marcus wasn't at Quick-Mart when the robbery happened. But I need more, something to bury their case." Elena, sipping coffee at a diner, scribbled notes. "I'm on it. I tracked down a witness, a bodega owner across from Quick-Mart. He says he saw the real robber, and he's shorter than Marcus, maybe 5'6". He's scared to talk, though." Cops leaned on him to stay quiet. Sarah's pulse quickened. "Can you get him to go on record?" "I'll try," Elena said. "He's got a family, doesn't want trouble. But I'm not letting this go." Outside, Tanya Reed was a force of nature. The hashtag Free Marcus Reed campaign had exploded, with 5,000 posts and counting. Protests outside the courthouse drew hundreds, their signs a sea of defiance. Justice for Marcus, end racial profiling. Tanya spoke at every rally, her voice raw but unyielding. "My son is not a statistic," she told a crowd, Kayla at her side, clutching a photo of Marcus in his basketball jersey. The news covered it, but so did the haters, counter-protesters shouting, "He's guilty," and online trolls flooding Tanya's inbox with threats, "Your kid's a thug. Stop lying." One message chilled her, "Keep this up, and you'll regret it." Tanya deleted it, but her hands shook. Elena's articles were shifting the narrative. Her latest piece, "New Evidence in Marcus Reed Case Raises Doubts," went viral, racking up 10,000 shares. She detailed the gas station footage and hinted at the bodega owner's account, careful not to name him. The story caught the eye of a local activist group, who launched a petition for Marcus's release. It hit 15,000 signatures in 48 hours. But the police doubled down, issuing a statement. "The evidence against Marcus Reed is strong. We stand by our investigation." Tanya read it and wanted to scream. Liars. Inside detention, Marcus was walking a tightrope. Rico, the bully who'd been testing him, was escalating. During lunch, Rico accidentally knocked Marcus' ashtray to the floor, oatmeal splattering. The other kids laughed, and Marcus's blood boiled. He locked eyes with Rico, his fists clenched. Jamal, sitting nearby, shook his head slightly. "Don't." Marcus took a breath and walked away, but Rico's voice followed. "Keep running, robber." The guards did nothing, their faces blank. Marcus knew a fight was coming, and he wasn't sure he could keep dodging it. That night it happened. In the rec yard, Rico cornered him near the fence, his crew blocking the guard's view. "You think you're tough, huh?" Rico shoved Marcus hard. Marcus stumbled, his back hitting the chain link. "I didn't do nothing to you," he said, his voice steady, but his heart pounding. Rico sneered. "You're soft. Let's see how soft." He swung, his fist grazing Marcus's jaw. Instinct took over. Marcus ducked the next punch and shoved Rico back, not hard enough to hurt, but enough to make a point. The crew gasped, and Rico's face twisted with rage. Before he could swing again, a guard's whistle cut through. "Break it up." Two guards yanked Rico away, and Marcus stood frozen, his cheek stinging. The guard glared at him. "You're lucky, Reed. Next time, it's solitary." Back in his cell, Marcus's hands wouldn't stop shaking. Jamal, lying on the top bunk, spoke without looking. "You did good, not fighting back. But Rico ain't done. Watch your back." Marcus nodded, his throat tight. "I can't keep doing this, Jamal." "What if I'm stuck here forever?" "You won't be," Jamal said. "Your lawyer's out there, your mom's out there. They're fighting. You just gotta hold on." Sarah and Elena were fighting, too. They met at a coffee shop, the gas station footage on Sarah's laptop. Elena slid a recorder across the table. The bodega owner talked off the record, for now. "Says the robber had a limp, wore a red bandana. Marcus doesn't match." Sarah's eyes lit up. "That's huge. If we get him to testify, it blows their case apart." But the prosecution wasn't sleeping. Holt filed a motion to suppress the gas station footage, claiming it was altered and lacked a clear chain of custody. Sarah read the filing and cursed. She fired back with a counter-motion, attaching an affidavit from the gas station manager confirming the tape's authenticity. The judge set a hearing for the next week, and Sarah felt the clock ticking. She dug deeper, uncovering a pattern. The arresting officer, Detective Malone, had a history of rushed arrests, especially targeting black teens. 3 similar cases in 2 years, all with shaky evidence. "This isn't just Marcus," Sarah told Elena. "It's a system." Tanya faced her own battles. The threats were escalating. Slashed tires on her car. A brick through her apartment window with a note, "Drop it." She didn't tell Kayla, who was already scared, sleeping with Marcus's old basketball jersey. Tanya reported it to the police, but the officer shrugged. "Probably kids." She knew better. Still, she kept protesting, kept posting, kept praying. At a rally, she met a lawyer offering pro bono help with a lawsuit against the police. "If Marcus gets out," the lawyer said, "we can make them pay." Tanya nodded, but all she wanted was her son home. Marcus wrote another letter to Kayla, his pencil dull from use. "Hey, Kay. I got in a little trouble today, but I'm okay. Tell Mom I'm strong, like she taught me. I dream about playing ball with you again." He didn't write about the bruise on his jaw or the fear that Rico would come for him again. He sealed the letter, hoping it would reach her before the next storm hit. Sarah visited the next day, her face tired but determined. "We've got the gas station footage," she told Marcus. "It shows you walking away before the robbery, and we might have a witness who saw the real guy. It's not a done deal, but it's big." Marcus's heart leaped, then faltered. "They'll fight it, won't they? Like last time." "Yeah," Sarah admitted. "But we're ready. The trial's in 3 weeks. Stay strong, Marcus. We're close." As she left, Marcus clung to her words. Close, but close wasn't free, and the detention center was a pressure cooker. Rico's eyes followed him in the cafeteria, and the guard's indifference felt like a trap. Outside, Tanya's protests were shaking the city, Elena's articles were exposing cracks, and Sarah's evidence was building a case. But inside, Marcus was alone, a 17-year-old kid fighting to hold on to hope in a place that thrived on breaking it. The courtroom was a pressure cooker, the air heavy with anticipation and the faint hum of overhead lights. Marcus Reed sat at the defense table, his borrowed suit a size too small, the collar chafing his neck. At 17, he'd never felt so exposed. Every eye in the packed gallery boring into him, supporters with #Free Marcus Reed buttons, skeptics whispering, and reporters scribbling furiously. His mom, Tanya, sat in the front row, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles paled. Kayla, his little sister, fidgeted beside her, clutching a crumpled drawing of a basketball. Sarah Coleman, his public defender, adjusted her notes, her face a mask of focus. Across the aisle, Prosecutor Gregory Holt exuded confidence, his polished shoes glinting as he stood to address the jury. The trial had begun, and Marcus's fate hung on every word. The judge, a stern woman with wire-rimmed glasses, called the court to order. State v. Marcus Reed. Opening statements. Holt went first, his voice smooth and commanding. Ladies and gentlemen, on February 17th, Marcus Reed committed a brazen armed robbery at Quickmart, firing a gun and endangering lives. We have security footage, a witness, and a pattern of delinquent behavior. The evidence is clear. The defendant is guilty. He pointed at Marcus, and the jury, 8 women, for men, a mix of ages and races, followed his gaze. Marcus stared at the table, his heart pounding. They're already judging me. Sarah rose, her voice steady but fierce. This is a case of mistaken identity. Marcus Reed is a 17-year-old honor student who was walking home when he stumbled upon a crime. The prosecution's evidence is flimsy, blurry footage, a biased witness, and no weapon. We'll show you Marcus was blocks away when the robbery occurred, backed by new evidence the state tried to suppress. This isn't justice, it's prejudice. Her words hung in the air, and Tanya nodded, tears brimming. The prosecution's case unfolded like a well-rehearsed play. Holt called the delivery driver, who repeated his story. I saw a tall black kid in a hoodie running from Quickmart right after the shot. Under cross-examination, Sarah pounced. You didn't see his face, did you? And you've got a pending DUI case. Did the police offer you a deal to testify? The driver stammered, and the jury shifted. Holt played the Quickmart footage again, the grainy figure looming large. That's Marcus Reed, he insisted, but Sarah countered. It's inconclusive. It could be anyone. Then came the breakthrough. Sarah introduced the gas station footage, now cleared by the judge after a heated pretrial battle. The screen showed Marcus at 9:43 p.m., a block away, walking home. This proves my client was nowhere near Quickmart when the robbery happened at 9:45, Sarah said. The jury leaned forward, and Holt's jaw tightened. He argued the footage was unreliable, but the judge overruled him. Marcus's chest loosened. Just a fraction. They're listening. Outside, the hashtag Free Marcus Reed movement was a tidal wave. Tanya's protests drew thousands, their chants echoing across Chicago. No justice. No peace. Elena Ortiz's articles had gone national, with 50,000 shares and counting. Her latest piece, A Teen's Fight Against a Broken System, exposed Detective Malone's history of questionable arrests. The petition for Marcus's release hit 30,000 signatures, and a viral video of Kayla pleading, "My brother's not a robber," racked up 1 million views. But the backlash was vicious. Online threats targeted Tanya, and counter-protesters waved signs. "Lock him up," a news anchor mused. Is Marcus Reed a victim or a villain? Tanya ignored it, stapling flyers to every pole in sight. Inside detention, Marcus had been bracing for the trial. Rico's taunts had quieted after their scuffle, but the tension lingered, a coiled snake. Jamal, his cellmate, kept him grounded. "You're gonna tell your story, right?" Jamal said one night. "Speak from here." He tapped his chest. Marcus nodded, writing another letter to Kayla. "Kay, I'm scared, but I'm gonna fight. Keep Mom strong, okay? Love you." He unionized, his pencil shaking as he wrote. He didn't know his words would soon reach a jury when Sarah called Marcus to the stand. The courtroom fell silent. He walked to the witness box, his legs heavy, every step echoing. Sarah's questions were gentle. "Marcus, tell us what happened that night." He took a breath, his voice low but clear. "I was walking home from basketball practice. I passed Quickmart, heard a shout, saw a guy with a gun. I got scared and ran. I didn't rob nobody. I'm not that person." His eyes found Tanya's, and she nodded, urging him on. "I'm just a kid trying to go to college, play ball, take care of my family." "They got the wrong guy." Sarah asked about his life, his 3.8 GPA, his scholarship offers, his sister. Marcus's voice cracked. "Kayla's 10. She needs me. I can't let her down." The jury watched, some faces softening, others unreadable. Holt's cross-examination was brutal. "You've been suspended from school, haven't you?" For defiance, truancy, Marcus admitted it, his voice steady. "Yeah, when I was 14. I messed up, but I'm not a criminal." Holt pressed. "You ran from the scene. Isn't that what guilty people do?" Marcus shook his head. "I ran 'cause I was scared. I'm a black kid in Chicago. Cops don't ask questions." A juror, an older woman, dabbed her eyes. Tanya gripped Kayla's hand. Sarah rested her case, her closing argument a plea. Marcus Reed is innocent. The evidence proves it. Don't let bias steal his future. Then, a bombshell. The Quick-Mart clerk, a nervous man named Luis, took the stand as a surprise defense witness. The police told me to pick Marcus from a lineup, he admitted. I wasn't sure, but they said he was the guy, Sarah pounced. So you were coerced? Luis nodded, eyes down. Yeah. The gallery gasped, and Holt's face reddened. He tried to discredit Luis, but the damage was done. The jury deliberated as Marcus returned to detention, his mind spinning. Jamal clapped his shoulder. You did good, man. They heard you, but Marcus couldn't shake the fear. What if they don't believe me? Outside, Tanya led a vigil, hundreds holding candles, singing Amazing Grace. Kayla whispered, "He's coming home, right, Mom?" Tanya hugged her. "He will, baby." Elena tweeted updates, her followers glued to the case. The nation watched, divided but riveted. In his cell, Marcus stared at the ceiling, clutching Kayla's drawing. The trial was over, but the wait was agony. He thought of his testimony, the jury's faces, his mom's strength. I told the truth, he thought. Now, it was up to them. The Cook County Juvenile Detention Center was quieter than usual. The buzz of fluorescent lights a dull hum in Marcus Reed's ears. He sat on his bunk, his hands clasped, staring at the concrete floor. 3 days had passed since the trial ended, and the jury's deliberation felt like a lifetime. At 17, Marcus had never known waiting could be so heavy, each minute carving deeper into his chest. His cellmate, Jamal, lay on the top bunk, flipping through a tattered magazine. "They're taking too long," Marcus muttered, his voice barely audible. Jamal didn't look up. "Means they're thinking. That's good, man. Hold tight." But Marcus couldn't shake the dread. What if the jury saw him the way the prosecution did? A thug, a threat, a kid who didn't belong. In the courthouse, the tension was palpable. The gallery overflowed. Supporters wearing #Free Marcus Reed buttons packed shoulder to shoulder with reporters and curious onlookers. Tanya Reed sat in the front row, her hands gripping a rosary, her eyes fixed on the empty jury box. Kayla, beside her, clutched a new drawing of basketball court with Marcus dunking, labeled home. Sarah Coleman, Marcus's public defender, adjusted her glasses, her calm exterior masking the storm inside. She'd poured everything into this case: the gas station footage, the coerced clerk's testimony, Marcus's raw honesty on the stand. But juries were unpredictable, and the prosecution's character attacks lingered like poison. Outside, Chicago was a battleground. Tanya's vigils had grown into a movement, with thousands gathering nightly, their candles flickering against the spring chill. Elena Ortiz's articles fueled the fire. Her latest piece, A Teen's Truth versus A System's Lies, shared 100,000 times. The #Free Marcus Reed hashtag trended nationally, with celebrities and activists amplifying the call. But the backlash was relentless. Online, trolls posted Marcus's mugshot, captioned "guilty." Counter-protesters waved signs, "Justice for Quick-Mart." A brick had crashed through Tanya's window days earlier, and though she reported it, the police dismissed it as random. She knew better. But fear didn't stop her. Nothing would. The jury filed in, their faces unreadable. Marcus was led into the courtroom, his wrists cuffed, the borrowed suit now familiar but no less uncomfortable. He caught Tanya's eye, and she mouthed, "I love you." He nodded, his throat tight. The judge's voice cut through. As the jury reached a verdict, the foreperson, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes, stood. "We have, Your Honor." She handed a paper to the bailiff, and the room held its breath. Marcus stared at his hands, his heart a drumbeat. Sarah's hand rested on his arm, steadying him, on the charge of armed robbery. "We find the defendant, Marcus Reed, not guilty." A roar erupted. Tanya sobbed, hugging Kayla so tightly the girl gasped. Supporters cheered. #Free Marcus buttons flashing. Reporters scribbled. Cameras clicked. Marcus's legs buckled. And Sarah caught him. "You're free," she whispered. He blinked, tears spilling. Free. The word felt unreal, like a dream he might wake from. Holt, the prosecutor, sat stone-faced, his case in tatters. The judge banged her gavel. but the joy drowned it out. The cuffs came off, and Marcus ran to Tanya, who pulled him into a crushing hug. Kayla wrapped her arms around his waist, her drawing crinkling. "You're home," she whispered. Marcus couldn't speak, his face buried in his mom's shoulder. But as the crowd surged, reality crept in. He was free, but the past 3 months had left scars, nights in a cell, Rico's fists. The world calling him a criminal. Home felt like a foreign land. Release wasn't instant. Paperwork took hours, and Marcus spent one last night in detention, the irony bitter. Jamal clapped his shoulder. "You made it, kid. Don't forget me out there." Marcus promised he wouldn't, his voice thick. The next morning, Tanya and Kayla waited outside the center, a small crowd cheering as Marcus stepped into sunlight. He squinted, the world too bright, too open. Tanya drove him home, the radio off, the silence heavy with unspoken pain. Home wasn't the same. The apartment felt smaller, the couch where he'd napped after practice now a reminder of the night the police came. Kayla stuck close, showing him her new jump shot, but Marcus's smiles were forced. Nightmares woke him: gunshots, cuffs, Rico's sneer. The mirror showed a stranger, his eyes older, his jaw tighter. Neighbors stopped by, offering food and congratulations, but some stared, their whispers cutting. Was he really innocent? Marcus overheard one at the corner store. "Kids' trouble, mark my words." He walked away, his fists clenched. Tanya saw it all. She met with the pro bono lawyer, filing a civil suit against the Chicago Police Department for wrongful arrest and racial profiling. "They can't do this to another kid," she told Sarah, who was drafting the complaint. Elena's reporting dug deeper, uncovering a dozen cases tied to Detective Malone, each with rushed arrests and shaky evidence. Her expose, a pattern of injustice, sparked calls for reform, and the city council scheduled hearings. Malone was suspended, a small victory, but Tanya wanted more systemic change, not just one scapegoat. Sarah took on more pro bono cases, inspired by Marcus. She visited him, bringing college brochures. "You're still going to school, right?" she asked. Marcus nodded. But doubt gnawed. His scholarship offers were gone. Scared off by the headlines, he applied to community college, his engineering dreams on hold. The #FreeMarcusReed campaign raised $10,000 for his tuition, a lifeline he hadn't expected. Strangers sent letters, calling him a hero, but the hate mail came to unsigned notes calling him thug. He burned them in the sink, the smoke stinging his eyes. Jamal's release came a month later, and Marcus met him at a diner. "You look good, free man," Jamal said, his grin wide. He was mentoring at-risk kids, his cross-stitch faded but his spirit sharp. "You gotta tell your story, Marcus. People listen now." Marcus hesitated. Speaking out meant reliving at the cell, the trial, the fear. But Jamal's words stuck. "You're stronger than what they did to you." Marcus tested the waters at a community center, sharing his story with teens. "I was you," he said, his voice raw. "The system tried to break me, but I'm here." The kids listened, wide-eyed, and one asked, "How'd you keep going?" Marcus thought of Tanya's hugs, Kayla's drawings, Sarah's fight. "People believed in me," he said. "Find those people." The room clapped, and something shifted. Speaking wasn't just pain, it was power. Outside, the world was changing. Elena's reporting won awards, and the civil suit gained traction, with depositions exposing Malone's tactics. Tanya became a community organizer, leading workshops on police accountability. Kayla wore Marcus's old jersey to school, bragging about her brother. But Marcus struggled to feel whole. He walked past Quickmart one day, the neon sign flickering, and froze. His breath shallow. "I'm free," he told himself, but freedom came with ghosts. At night, he studied, his desk piled with books. He wrote to Jamal, thanking him for the advice, and to Sarah, promising to make her proud. He hugged Kayla tighter, played ball with her in the park, her laughter a bomb. The verdict had given him back his life, but the fight wasn't over. The system was still broken, and Marcus knew he'd carry its weight forever. Still, he looked at the stars from his fire escape, the city sprawling below, and felt a spark. He wasn't just surviving. He was rebuilding. A year had slipped by since Marcus Reed stepped out of the Cook County Juvenile Detention Center, the clank of its gates fading into a memory that still haunted his dreams. Now 18, he stood on the sprawling campus of Chicago State University. A freshman in the criminal justice program, his backpack slung over one shoulder, weighed down with textbooks, notebooks, and a flicker of hope he hadn't felt in months. The spring air carried the scent of freshly cut grass, and students hurried past, their chatter a stark contrast to the silence of his cell. Marcus adjusted his hoodie, the same one he'd worn that February night, now patched but worn with pride, its fabric a reminder of survival. He wasn't just free, he was rebuilding, but freedom felt like a fragile gift, one he had to earn every day. The weight of his past lingered, a shadow he carried alongside his dreams of becoming a lawyer, a voice for kids like him. The civil suit against the Chicago Police Department had concluded 6 months prior, a victory laced with bitterness. The city agreed to a $1.2 million settlement, admitting procedural errors in Marcus's wrongful arrest. The money came with a public apology, a rare nod from a system that rarely bent. But it couldn't erase the nights he woke sweating, the echo of gunshots in his ears, or the sting of Rico's fists. Detective Malone, the officer who'd rushed his arrest, was fired after Elena Ortiz's expose revealed a dozen similar cases: black teens, flimsy evidence, swift convictions. The settlement funded Marcus's tuition, a community fund for wrongfully accused youth, and a new apartment for his family, far from the broken windows and whispered threats of their old neighborhood. Tanya, his mom, stood in the new living room, her hands on her hips, surveying the space. "This is for you, Kayla, and every kid they tried to break," she said, her voice steady but her eyes glistening. Marcus hugged her, the warmth of her embrace a balm against the cold he'd known. Marcus's college journey was a battle of its own. His old scholarship offers had evaporated under the glare of headlines, but the hashtag Free Marcus Reed campaign's donations over $15,000 raised by strangers across the country kept him enrolled. Classes were a grind: criminology, lectures dissecting bias, ethics debates that hit too close, statistics that forced him to confront numbers behind arrests like his. He excelled, his 3.9 GPA a quiet defiance, but the library became his refuge, its fluorescent lights burning late as he pored over cases, highlighters streaking pages yellow. His professor, Dr. Harris, a former public defender with graying hair and a sharp mind, saw his potential. "You've got a story, Marcus," she said one afternoon, leaning against her desk. "Turn it into action." He nodded, but the idea of speaking out felt like reopening a wound draw. Painful, necessary. The world hadn't let him fade. Elena's journalism had ignited a firestorm, her series Framed at 17 earning a Pulitzer nomination and spawning a book deal. The documentary Wrongly Jailed, produced by a local filmmaker, followed Marcus through campus and home, its cameras a constant presence. At first, he recoiled, the lenses evoking courtroom stares. But Tanya's words steadied him, "Your pain's saving others." The premiere at a Chicago film festival drew a packed house, the audience gasping as Marcus's trial testimony played. "I'm just a kid trying to go to college." Tears flowed, applause thundered, and a producer approached him after, pitching a streaming series. Marcus hesitated. Did he want his life dissected again? But agreed, hoping it would amplify his voice. Tanya had evolved into a force. She quit her hospital job to lead Justice for All, a non-profit she founded, running workshops on police accountability and youth rights. Her sessions filled community centers, teens scribbling notes as she shared Marcus's story. Kayla, now 11, designed flyers, her art bold with slogans like "Know Your Rights" and sketches of basketball courts. Tanya testified at city council, her voice cutting through debates. "My son was nearly erased by a system that sees black kids as threats," she declared, her gaze unflinching. Her advocacy birthed a policy: mandatory evidence reviews for juvenile arrests. Within 72 hours, a small crack in a massive wall, she traveled to Springfield, lobbying for statewide reform, her suitcase always packed, her resolve unyielding. Sarah Coleman, Marcus's lawyer, had taken her fight further. Inspired by Marcus, She tackled 5 pro bono cases, each a kid trapped like he'd been poor, black, misjudged. She guest lectured at his university, her slides flashing with his case as a warning. The law failed Marcus until we fought, she told students, her voice firm. You're the next generation to fix it. Marcus sat front row, his notebook filled with her insights, her words shaping his path. He shadowed her at court one day, watching her dismantle a shaky arrest, and felt a surge. This is what I want. Jamal Carter, his cellmate turned mentor, anchored him. Released 8 months ago, Jamal ran a mentorship program. His cross-status faded but his spirit bright. Marcus visited the community center, the gym alive with kids dribbling balls. You're a legend now, Jamal teased, tossing him a rebound. They sat later, sharing a pizza, grease staining the table. Jamal grew serious. You changed the game, man. Kids here look up to you. Marcus shrugged, uneasy with the title. I just told my truth. Jamal leaned in. Truth's a hammer. You swung it. That night, Marcus wrote Jamal a letter, thanking him for the strength, the wisdom, the brotherhood forged in a cell. His truth reached further at a national conference in Washington, D.C. His first plane ride a blur of clouds. Youth and Justice drew 500 attendees, lawyers, activists, kids with stories like his. Marcus stood at the podium, his hands trembling, his voice gaining strength. I was 17 when they locked me up for a crime I didn't commit, he began. They saw my skin, my hoodie, and called me guilty. But my mom fought, my lawyer fought, my community fought. Now, I'm fighting for you. He detailed the robbery, the detention, the trial, the verdict, his words painting a picture of resilience. I'm studying law to tear this system apart, brick by brick, he vowed. The room rose, clapping, and a 15-year-old girl approached after, her eyes wide. I was arrested last year, she whispered. Your story keeps me going. Marcus hugged her, tears mixing with hers, a bond born of shared scars. Back home, life was a mosaic of healing and struggle. He avoided Quickmart, its neon sign a trigger, his breath catching at the memory. Strangers still stared, some murmuring, that's the kid from the news, while others offered nods of respect. Online, trolls persisted, their comments vicious. He got lucky. He blocked them, but the words lingered, a reminder of the fight's cost. Therapy became his anchor, weekly sessions paid by the settlement, his counselor's voice gentle. You're carrying trauma, she said. Let it out. He did, talking of Rico, the cuffs, the fear, finding peace in the process. He played ball with Kayla, her jump shot rivaling his, her laughter a lifeline. Tanya cooked his favorite meatloaf, the kitchen filled with their old rhythm, a return to normalcy. Marcus launched a blog, Framed and Freed, a space to share stories of wrongfully accused youth. It hit 10,000 followers in months, each post a step toward purpose. He wrote of Jamal's mentorship, Sarah's grit, Tanya's fire, and the kids he met, teens with eyes too old, parents with hearts too heavy. We're not our worst moments, he typed one night. We're what we do next. Letters poured in, some from prison cells, others from families like his. One read, my son's in juvie. Your words give me strength. He framed it above his desk, a testament to his reach. Tanya hosted a barbecue to celebrate the settlement, the new apartment buzzing with life. Sarah arrived, her hair loose, laughing with Kayla over a game. Alana brought her book draft, framed at 17, asking Marcus for input, her pen poised. Jamal brought mentees, who shyly asked for selfies, their cameras flashing. As dusk fell, Tanya raised a glass. To Marcus, our warrior. To every kid who deserves a shot. The crowd cheered, and Marcus felt a wholeness, fleeting but real, the weight lifting just enough. He visited his dad's grave the next day, the cemetery quiet under a gray sky. I made it, Dad, he said, tracing the headstone's edges. I'm fighting, like you said. A breeze rustled the leaves, and he smiled. Hearing his dad's voice, don't show fear, but don't start trouble. He'd broken both rules, and here he was, standing tall. The system remained flawed, bias lingered. New cases emerged, but Marcus was ready. He studied late, spoke boldly, wrote fiercely, his legacy a promise to keep going. On his fire escape, he gazed at the city, its lights a mix of scars and hope. This is for you, he whispered, to Kayla, to Jamal, to the girl in D.C., to every kid framed by a system blind to their humanity. His fight wasn't over, it was just beginning.